You're sporting a new look today.
Yeah, I went for the clean shaven look.
That's not, and you're saying that's not an aspect of the chemo.
No, they said there's a possibility I could lose my hair. I haven't yet. It has gotten darker and coarser. It's changed like texture, but I haven't had any hair loss. This is really just because I've had to worry about how my hair looks for the last 10 years, and I wanted to shave my head, and it's made makes life easy. Summer's coming,
So yeah, it's that time.
Yeah.
Is this your second pop-up now here in Dallas?
It is. Yeah.
And the second one here at Kessler?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about this place?
The sound here is great. They've really cultivated like a listening room atmosphere, but in a larger size. There's more people can fit here. I have a history here. I've played this room quite a bit, and their other venue, the Longhorn Ballroom. I was part of their opening weekend celebration, and I've played their parties that they have at South by and Americana Fest. So I've had a relationship with the venue, with Kessler X for a while. And so it just seemed like a good fit. And because I'm getting chemo treatments right now, I have to distance myself from the audience, and the backstage is separate from the lobby and where everyone enters. So typically after a show, I go out to the table and I shake everyone's hand. I'm signing stuff and taking pictures, and I really like to connect with the audience. But for now, I have to separate myself so I'm not at risk of getting sick. It's difficult, especially being home here in Dallas. I know a lot of the people that are at the show, and I want to say hi. And it's not like we can't get together for lunch or whatever, but just being in a big, crowd is not the best idea right now. So I'm taking my space.
Are you surprised? The first pop-up, do you know how fast those tickets went?
Yeah, about 7.5 hours. Yep. And I think this one was like 2.5
hours.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
That what I already knew, which is that Dallas has always supported me fully, and that I just love this scene so much, and I've been a part of it since I was a kid, and I've always, just been kind of deep in the scene here. And when you do that and you show support for people, they return the favor and they show up for you. And I knew they would. Even having the show on a Monday, some people on the team were a little hesitant, and I was like, no, I think it's going to work out. And it has. I mean, Dallas has always had my back, and I wouldn't have a career if I wasn't supported so fully by my hometown when I was first starting to get my break a few years ago.
I don't know them likes getting pigeonholed into anything. I know everyone says, are you country, are you this, are you that, are you alt country? What do you tell them?
I always say that I'm country music because that's what inspired what I do, and the definition of country music changes over time, and I don't think that means I need to start using a different title for what I make. It's just genres are fluid and they change, but the music that I'm influenced by, I'm influenced by a lot of music, but when I started making this solo stuff, I was really trying to make my version of country music. And I think that if what the genre means changes over time, that doesn't mean that what you made isn't country music. So I just say I make country music.
You're driven by characters, driven by people you see.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing many people now? You kind of.
It's funny. I'm spending more time back in the places that I used to in Dallas. For years on the road, I would come home, and I didn't really do a lot because I'm out 250 nights a year or more, and when you're home, you just want to be at home. But now that I have some free time, I'm exploring some of my old, neighborhood haunts and stuff. It's there's still so much inspiration in this city for songs. I went to do my laundry. I like to do my laundry at the laundromat because there are so many interesting characters there. And like I was in the parking lot drinking a coffee and watched a couple get in a fight, and they stormed off and ended up getting in a fender bender, and then the guy walked back shirtless with his laundry into the laundromat. And I'm just like, I don't know. I know that happens in any city, any town. You know, there's all these. I feel like people really live their life forgetting that every other person they interact with also has a very complex life that's always happening, you know, for everyone. That kind of main character syndrome that people talk about. And it's like, there's just so much interesting stuff happening all the time. Stories that those people will tell for the rest of their lives are happening to somebody around you every day. And you just gotta like keep your eyes open for it.
Did you write a song about the laundromat incident?
I have a song in the can that's about a laundromat that actually happened before I even saw that happen. So, yeah, I think there's probably going to be a song about a laundromat coming out sometime next year.
I'm sure by now everybody who's coming to your shows understands that you are fitting in these shows in between chemo treatments.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the people coming out know that I'm getting chemo right now.
And I know you wanted to start off your show not solemn or quiet, or because you were saying your songs can often sometimes be that.
Yeah, I mean a lot of my songs are sad anyway, and if you've been to one of my solo shows, they're, you know, I tell stories and I try to make people laugh and stuff, but there are plenty of somber moments throughout the set, and I think that paired with me currently going through chemo treatment, it's just a little too heavy, and I didn't want people coming into the experience feeling that, right, not knowing how to react to what they were watching. And so I'm trying to like break the ice right off the bat, and you know, I'm walking out to Texas by Big X the Plug, and you know, riling everybody up, and then try to hit them with a one-liner and then go right into a sad song. So, you know, I just want people to know where I'm at mentally when I go into the shows, that it's not this serious thing. Like having cancer sucks, and going through chemo treatment is very unexpected, and but that, you know, that doesn't have to impact everything all the time. So
why thank you for listening?
I'd had that, just the title of that song in my notes for like years. I wanted to write a thank you song to my fans, and I knew that I was sick. I wasn't sure that I had cancer yet, but I was told to kind of prepare myself for that news after getting a colonoscopy. And I had like 1 day between getting the I had 3 days between the colonoscopy and being at Jimmy Kimmel in December, and I had this project I wanted to do, which is Thank You for Listening, and we snuck it in like the day after the colonoscopy, and we mixed it, and we had that song out 9 days later, I think. I mean, it was just like crazy turnaround, but I got the colonoscopy, wrote the song. Like it wasn't written, so we created the song. I had already pitched the whole album to my team. They didn't know that I didn't actually write the song yet. So I had to like write the song, cut the song with my producer, John Pedigo, and Josh David Jordan shot the videos. And then we had like, I think John had like 5 days turnaround to like get it all done and sent in before we were playing on Kimmel, because he came and played Kimmel with me with my band, and then the song came out. So that was a crazy week. And like on the way to the airport to fly to LA to do Kimmel is when I actually got the call and found out that I had cancer, and I was gonna have to get surgery and possibly go through chemo.
How long was that call? And what do you remember the words?
Yeah, I remember the tone of my doctor's voice. I knew it wasn't good.
How did it hit you?
And it was shocking, and I was panicked because I needed to let my friends and family know, like my really close family know, before I got on the plane, I felt like. And so it was kind of a mad dash to like get to the airport, get to the gate, call the people I needed to call, and then just shut that off for the next 2 days while I got to LA did the performance. I let my team know after we did the performance. I didn't want to let everyone know until after, so people weren't stressing out about it. I let a couple guys in my band know. My bassist Billy. I told him at the airport because he was the first person I saw after I got off the phone, and I was just like, I gotta tell somebody. We kept it a secret till after the performance the next day, and then let the whole team in on it, and then we made that big announcement like the next week to the public.
Why was it important for you to let the public and the audience know?
I needed to let the audience know because I feel like I've always been pretty transparent about my life and what I'm going through, and I knew that the fans would stick with me through it and want to support me. And if I just disappeared and cleared my calendar and whatever, like people were going to speculate and whatever, and it's just so much easier for me. I'm not a very private person, at least not about that, health stuff. So it's a lot easier for me to be like, this is everything I know right now. I'll keep you updated. You don't have to ask questions or whatever. I just put it all out there. So, because for one, I feel like my fans deserve it. Like they care about me, and I feel like I owe it to them to let them know what's, how I'm doing. So
There's such a real honesty, I think, in your songwriting. I mean, you and I have talked about that many times over the years, and I think the audience appreciates that. I mean, is this a continuation of that, just honest dialogue?
Yeah, just trying to, be real with people. I don't have anything to hide, It's just like, it's so much easier to just tell the truth and let people know where you're at than it is to keep it in and keep secrets and try to let it out in, a specific way or whatever. And also just like, I was looking forward to letting everyone know publicly because I didn't have to have individual conversations with everyone. How you doing? Where you been? I didn't have to be like, well, I didn't have to break the news over and over. It was like one thing. I let everyone know that needed to know, like, hey, I'm about to make an announcement. I didn't want you to see it on the internet. But then for the majority of people, that's just how they found out. So it made it easier for me too, just not having to have that conversation a bunch of times.
You and I were talking earlier. My mom did a really, really good job of masking how much she was hurting.
Yeah.
And that's for our sake, right?
Right.
How sick are you?
I mean, when it's bad, it's bad. It puts me down for, a couple days at a time. Whenever I actually get an infusion, I'm down for 5 days, and 2 of those I'm just in bed, and nauseous, foggy. My brain doesn't work right. It's hard to remember simple things like vocabulary. Just like conversation. You're just worn out, and tired. It's like a intense flu, and then really weird symptoms on top of that. Like my hands and feet feel like I have icy hot all over them. I can't drink anything cold because it feels like it's burning. I can't, if it's cold out, I got to wear a windbreaker. Everything just is like on pins and needles, and it's intense. It is. It's weird. I mean, it feels like you're poisoning yourself because you are. I mean, it's really strange. But at the same time, I have a good prognosis. I'm supposed to get 6 months of treatment, and then we'll just do tests periodically to track it. But they're hoping for a 90% chance that I'm cancer free after the treatment. So, I mean, my odds are pretty good.
If chemotherapy is poison, cancer sucks. What are these performances? What are they to you?
These shows are just a reminder that I have control over some things and that I am good at something, because I spend a lot of time these days having to ask for help and feeling bad or not as good as I have been in the past or whatever, whether it be physical or mental or whatever. And more than anything, these shows are just an opportunity for me to go do what I'm good at for 90 minutes. And that's like, you know, been awesome to have that on the calendar and know that I have something like that to look forward to, because I really do believe that's what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm good at. So it's
And no
nice.
frills, right? It's just you, a chair, and your guitar.
yeah, just me and a guitar, just like I started. I've been playing shows like that for 12 years now, and of course I've had a band, you know, throughout the years, but like it all started with me just playing my songs solo in the corner of bars and restaurants and stuff. I think it's a little bit of both. What's that? It's like a trend online right now, like proof of life post or whatever. I think it's kind of like that. And I feel like the first show back like a month ago, especially, there were probably some people coming out and just like, I don't know, he's getting chemo. How bad is he going to be? Like, I think there was some, probably a little bit of morbid like curiosity too. Like you wonder, you know, what's it really going to be like? Like, I feel like everyone's had someone in their life that's had cancer, and it's usually not a positive memory. So I think there are some people who wanted to make sure I was just still here, still kicking, you know. And when you're sick, like, you forget that your appearance changes kind of rapidly, but you see it every day. So for people who haven't seen you for a while, it's like a big change. I know for me, like, the year leading up to getting sick, I dropped like 80 pounds, and then I dropped like another 40 pounds after I got sick because I couldn't eat leading up to the surgery. Just that was the symptoms of the tumor that I had in my colon, was I wasn't able to eat solid foods. And so like right before the surgery, I think I was down like 110, 115 pounds. So a lot of people back home just hadn't seen me and then attributed it to me being sick. But really, I'd been working on it for like a year anyway. And so I just, you know, you forget that that's like, you look at yourself every day. So the way that people interpret the way you look, you know, they start putting meaning on everything once you're sick.
Where are your haunts in East Dallas? What are the places you're talking about?
I mean, all over,
You wanna
but
give them away? Publicly?
yeah, I'm gonna say, no one go here. No, I eat enchiladas every Wednesday at El Vecino. Me and my producer John Pedigo have had a standing date for like 7 years now. If we're both in town, we go get enchiladas, and that place is awesome. It's also like a mile from my house.
Got it. Where else do you go for inspiration?
For inspiration,
Which
I mean,
laundromat?
that one off Peavy, in Garland, like over by Good Friend.
Okay.
Cultivar Coffee and Good Friend Package Co. You know, that's a neighborhood place. That's where I get my coffee most of the time. I can walk there. You know, bars like Lakewood Landing, Peak Inn. I mean, all over. And Dallas is changing all the time, too. Like, my spots have moved over the years. But
I mean, so what do you... How are you feeling heading into these shows? Like, how, is the set... First of all, is the set planned out?
no. The first show, there was absolutely no set, no list, no anything. I just went in blind, purposefully. Like, I hadn't practiced either. I didn't tell anyone that ahead of time. But, like,
Yeah.
I had this surgery to remove like a third of my colon, 2 parts of my intestine, my appendix, 52 lymph nodes, and they took out a lot more than they were anticipating when they started. So I ended up with this hand assist port that's like this 6-inch incision like right above my belly button. And so they had to cut through all my abdominal muscles and whatever. So I couldn't sing for like, you know, a while because it just... I could have blown out, you know, my stitches or whatever. So I went like, I didn't actually sing full out until I sang here for the first time, because I had this weird mental block where I was like, well, I don't want to push it all the way, because what if something happens? If it happens, I'd rather it happen on stage, because then I know I can finish, you know, I'll probably get through the show and then I'll go do something about it. And so that was the first time I really like sang, and I didn't have a set list, and it was really loose, and I told, I had some crowd work and banter and whatever, but there was some pauses where I like just couldn't think of the next song I wanted to play. So today I have just a big chunk of songs, no order or anything, just if I get stuck I can just glance at it and be like, oh yeah, that song. But it's all really loose.
What do you get out of this performance? I mean, I think there's like the proof of life stuff that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a probably kind of not a selfish way, but I mean, I'm really competitive, and I think like proving that I can still do it while I'm getting chemo is like part of it. Because I was told, might not be the best idea or whatever, and I was like, I can do it. I can, like I said earlier, like I've played through a ruptured appendix, I've played through food poisoning, I've played through all these heinous, things on the road over the last 10 years. I was like, I can play through getting chemo treatment. So for one, I think partially just like proving to myself that I can do it, because there aren't that many people who've had the opportunity to do that, and so I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of one more notch in my belt at just proving like how dedicated I am to this.
Was it your doctors who said you probably shouldn't be performing?
There were mixed reviews. I wasn't told like no, but especially at the first show, because I hadn't, my stomach needed to heal and stuff. So, no one said I outright just couldn't do it, but there is maybe I should think about not doing it. So.
Are you pulling punches? Are you holding back on high notes? I love your yodels, but if your yodels mean you're going to rupture something in your stomach,
that peace note you still held. You held that for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going full out, and it feels good. Like I said, I've made some healthy choices over the last year, and I really, in a lot of ways, feel great, because like part of the reason that I made those changes in my life was because I felt bad, and it turns out I felt bad because I had cancer. So now that I've had the cancer taken out, I'm not like anemic anymore, and like a lot of these things I was fighting against, the symptoms are gone. So in some ways I feel kind of better than ever. Like I'm eating cleaner and doing cardio, so my lung capacity is better, and like I just feel like once I get through chemo, I'm gonna be like top of my game. So I'm pretty excited about it, honestly.
You mentioned proving it to yourself. I mean, what are you proving to yourself? I mean, are you proving to yourself? Is it about just that you can do it? I mean, just the urge to do it. Can you speak to that? I mean, because no one's putting a gun to your head.
Right. I think. Just in a broader picture, like no one makes you do this. Like if you pursue your dreams, like I'm my own boss. There's no one to push you to do any of it. So, and I had that epiphany like 10 years in. I was like, I had a few days off in Erie, Pennsylvania, and like it was raining and the whole city had shut down because the kids had just left like to go home from the semester being over. And I just had a few days to think, and I was like, not why am I doing this, but I'm just like, oh, I did this like to myself. Like no one's making me do this. And it's this weird thing. It's like I think I had to tell myself that there was some exterior thing making me do it, because if it had just been me the whole time, I might have given up. But I'm also the one that made myself feel that way. So I don't know. It's this weird kind of circle where it's like I felt like it was the only option I had and I had to do it, but I also love what I do and I chose to do it. It's some mental trick I played on myself. But with these shows, it's like, I just want to prove it. And in some ways, like it is, like I said, people have that morbid curiosity. I'm like, I mean, if my schedule gets off and I have to get chemo, like when I get chemo, I have to take home a bag for 2 days, and I get my first 6 hours of the infusion in the hospital, but then the next 48 hours I actually have this little pressurized IV bag that I take home, and it's pumping chemo in me. And there's a chance one of the shows will line up to where that's happening, and Josh Fleming of Vandaliers is like, "You won't do that." And I was like, "I'll do that. I'll bring one of those IV things out on stage and make a whole spectacle of it." 'Cause it's just like, I don't know, like that's life, and like why not put it on stage? It's not for like, I don't know, it's not for the shock and awe. It's just like that's what's happening to me right now, and I have a show scheduled, so if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. And again, how many people have played on stage with like, you know, an IV bag hanging, getting medicine? So I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, it does, you know.
Where are we in the cycle of chemo, like today? Like when was your last?
It was actually 3 weeks ago. I had to postpone my last treatment because the Metaport that they give you infusions through, they implant it in your chest, and then there's a catheter that goes up in the vein in your neck. My port flipped over from, they don't actually know what I did, but it just from movement, like certain motions.
Not strumming a guitar.
I don't know. I mean, probably not. But yeah, they said I probably did it in my sleep. But certain motions just move the muscle and tissue in a way it can flip over, and once it's flipped, it's hard to get it back. And so they're gonna take this one out and put another one in this side. So in like less than a week, both sides of my chest I'm having surgery on. So I'm not gonna be able to like move my arms for like a week or 10 days.
But if I understand correctly, you had to cancel an entire slate of shows.
Yeah, I
Because of the
canceled 7-8 months of shows, lots of festivals, just between having to be at the hospital every 2 weeks, having the actual chemo on me for 2 days, and then having to go back and have it unplugged, and then all the risk of just like travel and being around people all the time. It just made it logistically impossible to tour. I tried to figure out how to make it happen, and eventually it was just like, no, there's no way to get the best treatment and tour full time, so, or tour at all, really.
You can't finish this sentence. If I didn't have music.
I'd be a day trader. No, I don't know. I'd have more money. I'd sleep more. If I didn't have music, I don't know. That was my only like access to therapy for years and years. So there's a pretty good chance I probably wouldn't be here. You know.
You mentioned the cancellations. What did I mean? I know people who've been following your career know like the trajectory you were on, but people who might not know, what is that kind of just pause, right, mean for your career? Like, how did you reconcile that?
I don't think I have yet. You know, it's impossible to know what opportunities you're missing when you're missing them. I think, I don't know, I'm used to it at this point. Like, I didn't think I was going to have the success that I did, and then I did, and there's just been a ton of roadblocks the whole way, whether it be the pandemic or funding or just like something's always getting in the way. So I think that it wasn't like, oh no, what am I going to do? You know, because I feel like I'm always trying to, it's like, well, in 6 months it's going to be better. And then there's always something in 6 months that, you know, is another added, you know, hurdle you have to get over. So it's not that surprising, and I'm taking it pretty well. I don't think it's going to be like super detrimental to my career, but I did have some pretty good momentum going into this year. I came off a big national TV appearance. I had a record in the can that we were about to drop, and everything was slated, you know, to have this big year. But honestly, I'm so lucky. I've had like 3 or 4 big years in a row. So I'm like, I hope the fans hold on and want to wait. And honestly, we're already 3 months into it. I'm just like, when you're making choices and things are rolling out, everything feels so important. And then stepping back and like pausing for a second, I'm realizing like all the little things aren't that important. I'm going to pick things back up in a year and release an album and be on the road. and people are going to forget that I was even gone for 6 months, because that's just how things work. There's so much to take in as a music listener, as a concert goer, as a music fan. Like, people used to release records every 3 to 5 years. Now people release records every 12 to 18 months, because it's just how things change, like that's just the timeline that we're on. And so I'm like, some of my favorite bands put out records every 5 or 6 years. I'm like, well, is it really that big of a deal if I'm not in everyone's face for 6 months? You feel like you have to show people something periodically, and it's like, you got to roll out songs, you got to roll out singles, you got to make content, you got to make videos. And I think we'll see at the end whether or not that really affects my career negatively or not, that I'm just the quantity of content that's coming out is lower. But I have a feeling that it may not matter, and maybe that'll influence me to not feel like everything is make or break all the time. I hope that's how I feel at the end of it. But yeah.
I mean, it's tough not to look at these shows in some ways as like a makeup, right? For some of the shows you have to cancel. Is that fair to say?
Sure. I mean, I think the longer this goes on, I think I'll see more people travel to come to these shows, because like me and the Vandaliers and Mike and the Moon Pies, now Silverado, they did a name change this year, went and played Kane's Ballroom, and people have been asking for that lineup for years, and we've been pushing that lineup for years, and it just never happened, and it finally all came together, and we got to play the historic Kane's Ballroom. I think we had like 30 something states represented, like, that came out for that show, and it was a really big turnout for us. And like, these fans that are dedicated are willing to travel. I think if I wasn't announcing the shows like 5 to 10 days ahead of time, I think I'd have quite a bit of people like coming out from farther away.
So will the model change at some point for that reason?
Probably while I'm on like getting treatments, probably not. I want to give myself that wiggle room to not have to take things off the calendar. I think, in the first 10 years of my career, I think I canceled like 10 shows. And then this last year, before I knew I had cancer, I canceled like 15% of my shows, and I felt awful about it. And I just don't want to take any more shows off the calendar. So I'm just being, cautious about how I roll the shows out.
I guess I don't know if you have more, but my last question, Josh, is, when you get through this and are on the other side, how do you think you're going to look back at these shows?
I knew going into the first one, this is going to be like one of those special moments. A lot of my most special moments have happened in Dallas. Whether it's headlining the Granada Theater for the first time, because that's the theater I used to sneak into as a kid to see shows, or, I got to surprise everyone when we played Jimmy Fallon. Everyone thought we were in New York, but we had actually made it back to Dallas, and we went to our own watch party, and we actually surprised everyone with a set at our watch party. And there's just been multiple really important nights to me. Some of my favorite nights play music that have happened in Dallas, and I think these Kessler shows are probably going to end up being the same thing. Just people coming out and supporting me when I need it.
Supporting another East Dallas dirtbag.
Yeah.
Same as it ever was.
For sure.
Good.